Meeting the Queen is a formal affair governed by centuries-old traditions. Every movement, word, and gesture is expected to follow strict royal etiquette, yet even the most influential figures have failed to get it right. Simple actions, like speaking out of turn, addressing her incorrectly, or arriving late, can be seen as breaches of protocol. While some mistakes are forgiven, others become headline news. Understanding these rules is essential for anyone stepping into royal circles, and history has shown just how easy it is to make a misstep. 1. The rule of no touch. Touching the Queen without her consent is one of the most notorious errors individuals make when they meet her. Despite its apparent obsolescence, this is nevertheless one of the most well-known royal protocol rituals. It is forbidden to touch the Queen unless she makes the first move. Even some of the most well-known people in the world have disregarded this rule, which may seem severe. Michelle Obama, the First Lady at the time, made news in 2009 when she put her arm around the Queen at a meeting at Buckingham Palace. Despite appearing to be a loving moment, it caused a media frenzy. While palace authorities played down the episode, the British press argued over whether the gesture was an etiquette violation. Although the Queen herself didn't appear very disturbed, it was evident from the royal observers' response that touching the Queen was a grave mistake. Another noteworthy occasion occurred in 2017, when David Johnston, the Governor-General of Canada, was observed putting his hand on the Queen's elbow as she went down a flight of stairs. Johnston subsequently said that he was only attempting to help the Queen because he was worried that she may trip. Even though he had the best of intentions, the conduct was nonetheless against royal protocol. Naturally, the Queen handled it gracefully, but the media did not overlook it. So, how does one approach the Queen appropriately? The easy solution is to let her lead. You should only offer a handshake in return if she extends her hand. Even so, the handshake needs to be light and quick. Neither a tight hold nor any effort to make it into an embrace are necessary. Making physical contact is a common error, particularly for people accustomed to cordial greetings. But with the Queen, moderation is essential. The public scrutiny that follows, even if she doesn't have a negative reaction, is evidence that royal traditions are still important. 2. Hand etiquette and standing regulations. The way one conducts oneself in front of the Queen is another crucial component of royal protocol, in addition to the no-touch rule. Proper royal etiquette is defined by unwritten norms that include posture, standing, and even hand placement. Some of the most embarrassing situations in royal history can result from breaching these principles, even though they might not appear clear to an outsider. When the Queen enters a room, one of the basic rules is that guests must always stand. This is a necessity, not merely a show of deference. It is extremely impolite to not rise when the Queen comes, and even if she might not call it out herself, those around her will. One of the easiest ways to show disrespect is to stay sitting when the Queen is standing, whether at a formal or informal occasion. However, standing involves more than just getting to your feet. It also involves your posture. The rule that guests should never put their hands in their pockets while around the Queen is one of the more unexpected etiquette guidelines. Although it may seem insignificant, having your hands in your pockets is interpreted as a sign of irresponsibility and improper manners in royal circumstances. For this, even royal family members have come under fire. Prince Harry, who has frequently been pictured with his hands in his pockets, is a perfect example. Traditionalists and royal watchers view it as inappropriate, despite the fact that it may appear to be a casual habit. Standing in front of the Queen is supposed to have one's hands visible, either clasped lightly in front of oneself or at one's sides. While standing is required when the Queen arrives, it is not anticipated for the whole of the event, which is a minor comfort for guests. After the Queen herself has seated herself, guests are free to join her. Everyone is subject to this rule, regardless of whether they are a member of the royal family, a celebrity, or a visiting dignitary. You stand if the Queen does. You can sit if she does. Despite their seeming insignificance, these particulars are crucial to royal etiquette. Standing etiquette, posture, and body language all influence how much respect is given to the Queen. Even while a mistake in this area would not result in a global incident, people who are familiar with royal customs will undoubtedly notice. After standing and making physical contact, people frequently make the mistake of not making eye contact. What is too much? What occurs if someone makes a mistake? We'll look at how a royal meeting can be made or broken by a single glance in the next section. 3. Making eye contact. Striking the correct balance. Making eye contact is another subtle element of royal etiquette that can be just as difficult as standing correctly and keeping your hands visible. There is a delicate line between making courteous eye contact and creating awkward situations, even though it is crucial to demonstrate that you are attentive and respectful when speaking to the Queen. Maintaining eye contact is generally emphasized in social situations and is a universal indicator of attentiveness. The Queen, on the other hand, has somewhat different expectations. Although they must avoid making prolonged or excessively strong eye contact, guests are supposed to recognize her presence with a quick glance. Too much staring can come off as intrusive, while completely avoiding eye contact can come across as condescending or dismissive. During his visit to the Queen in 2021, President Joe Biden was one prominent instance of this norm being breached. He spoke to her while wearing his sunglasses when they met outside Windsor Castle. The British press was keen to point out that wearing sunglasses in front of the Queen was a serious etiquette violation, even though it might have seemed like a small matter. The Queen expects to see your eyes during a discussion, so anything that blocks them, such as sunglasses or a tendency to look away, can be interpreted as bad form. The right way is easy. Keep your gaze on the Queen for a natural amount of time during the conversation, neither too long nor too short. To acknowledge her, a nod or bow along with a respectful look is more than sufficient. And just follow her example if you're unsure. Another common error people make while greeting the Queen is mispronouncing her title, which is covered by posture, standing etiquette, and eye contact. Many people believe that any polite greeting will be enough, but in royal circles, how you address the Queen is more important than you may imagine. 4. Properly addressing the Queen. Royal protocol requires titles and formal welcomes, and the Queen's title is no different. In contrast to other royal family members, politicians, or even celebrities, the Queen needs to be addressed in a very particular manner. Even while there might not be any immediate repercussions for making a mistake, it will undoubtedly be recognized. Referring to the Queen as Your Highness is one of the most frequent errors. Although it may sound kind, it is not. Your Majesty is the appropriate salutation to use during the initial introduction. Then you should just call her ma'am. This might seem like a small distinction, but royal etiquette makes a clear distinction between Your Majesty and Your Highness. The latter is for princes and princesses, not the current monarch. Trying to appear too casual is another mistake to avoid. Although some foreign leaders have been known to engage the Queen in more casual conversation, it is strictly forbidden to address her by her first name. Even in private circumstances, the Queen should never be referred to as Elizabeth or Liz, in contrast to many political personalities who may be addressed informally behind closed doors. The proper course of action is to adhere to the required requirements. The sole proper salutation when first presented is Your Majesty. Changing to ma'am is fine, and even recommended if the conversation goes on. This shift preserves the deference required in royal settings while keeping the dialogue civil. Those close to the Queen are likely to notice, even though she has a sense of humor and may not take offense at a mistake herself. Using the incorrect title might be interpreted as irresponsible or ignorant, whereas using the correct one is a sign of respect in royal circles. After discussing the significance of properly addressing the Queen, individuals frequently make the error of presuming they may strike up a discussion with her. Who speaks first matters just as much in the realm of royal etiquette as what is said. 5. Who gets to talk first? Not you. It is customary in most social situations to introduce yourself or strike up a conversation first, but meeting the Queen is the complete opposite. The custom of the Queen speaking first is one of the most well-established standards of royal etiquette. Unless she starts the topic, guests should never approach her or try to strike up a chat. Maintaining an orderly and disciplined relationship is the goal of this guideline, not making guests feel uncomfortable. The Queen's calendar is well organized, and each appointment is scheduled to guarantee that discussions stay succinct and productive. Guests support this flow by letting her steer the discourse. According to Grant Harold, a former royal butler who worked in the royal household, the rationale for this regulation is straightforward. Royals must regulate their discussions in order to manage their time. Meetings with the Queen might easily devolve into chaos or go longer than expected if visitors were free to start conversations. It's a common mistake for first-time visitors to approach the Queen before she acknowledges them. Even though there are typically no major repercussions, this can nevertheless make for an uncomfortable situation. Although royals are taught to gently reroute conversations, it might be awkward to transgress this guideline. Waiting for the Queen to engage first is the proper method to have a meeting with her. This could be as basic as a hello, a query, or even a remark regarding the occasion. After she finishes speaking, attendees are free to reply appropriately, making sure to be polite and succinct. Allowing for natural pauses is also crucial. Talking over or interrupting the Queen is another etiquette faux pas that should be avoided. As we proceed, offering gifts is another frequent error. While it is usual to offer a gift when invited to meet the Queen, not all presents are deemed suitable. The regulations governing royal gift-giving and the reasons why the Queen never keeps some presents will be discussed in the next section. 6. How to give royal gifts. Although it's a long-standing custom, bringing a gift to the Queen has its own set of guidelines. Giving a thoughtful gift might seem like a straightforward gesture, yet many people mistakenly believe that the Queen retains gifts for herself. In actuality, none of the formal presents are regarded as private property. Instead, they become a part of the royal collection. With hundreds of historical relics, paintings, and ceremonial presents, the royal collection is one of the biggest privately owned art collections in the world. Every gift given to the Queen by a foreign leader, celebrity, or dignitary is recorded and kept in accordance with royal procedure. Some presents are donated, some are put in storage, and some are on display. In her private home, the Queen hardly ever uses or displays an object. People have given a great range of gifts over the years, from the conventional to the unconventional. Expensive or too personal gifts are inappropriate, even though rare books, fine art, and symbolic artifacts are always appreciated. An excellent illustration of this was when a visiting official once tried to present the Queen with an animal as a gift, which is not feasible despite having the best of intentions. The wisest course of action is to select a modest yet meaningful gift for the Queen if you are ever in a position where you must give one. It's always safe to choose a book, a little cultural piece, or something with historical relevance. Whatever is offered, it is crucial to realize that it is an official offering that will be recorded and kept on file, not a sentimental memento. Although they show respect, gifts are not the most crucial aspect of royal etiquette. Formal dinners with the Queen are another setting where blunders are frequently made. There are special guidelines for dining with royalty, such as when to begin and, more crucially, when to finish. 7. Wait before eating. Proper dining etiquette. The custom of dining with the Queen is rich in heritage, but it can also be a confusing maze of possible blunders for people who are not familiar with royal protocol. The rule that no one eats until the Queen takes her first bite is among the most crucial to keep in mind. In the same way, no matter how much food is left on their plate, everyone else has to stop eating when she does. This procedure guarantees that meals are served according to a set schedule and keeps guests from acting rudely by eating before the King or Queen. This can be an easy rule to break for people who are accustomed to starting their meal casually as soon as their dish is served. But not adhering to it is regarded as a major etiquette violation. The assortment of cutlery used at a royal meal setting is another frequent error. In contrast to a typical meal, formal eating with the Queen frequently involves several forks, knives, and spoons, each of which is assigned to a certain dish. Although using the incorrect utensil might be a humiliating error, the general rule is straightforward. Begin outside and work your way inside. Guests should also continue to pay attention to their body language, posture, and table etiquette. Large portions or hurrying through a meal are discouraged, and elbows should never rest on the table. Dinner conversation should be civil and steer clear of contentious subjects like politics or private affairs. The best course of action for people who are overwhelmed by these regulations is to just watch the Queen and do as she says. Guests should pause if she does. They might follow suit if she starts eating again. In the end, dining etiquette is about upholding decorum and deference in an environment that is as much about custom as it is about the food. After lunch, people often make the error of not knowing how to walk with the Queen. Many people believe that it's okay to walk next to her. but according to royal tradition, the Queen always takes the lead and nobody should ever go in front of her. 8. Following the Queen's lead. The expectation that the Queen must always lead when walking is one of the less well-known but sometimes disregarded royal traditions. She should be at the forefront and everyone else should follow, whether at formal gatherings, processions, or public events. Even members of the royal family are subject to this convention. Her late husband, Prince Philip, was expected to always walk 2 steps behind her. This expectation relates to royal hierarchy rather than individual position. The monarch is always given priority in movement since they are the head of the country and the royal family. This means that during official events, guests, dignitaries, and even global leaders should never stand in front of her. Instead, they should let her walk ahead. During then-President Donald Trump's visit to the UK in 2018, one of the most well-known violations of this law took place. He unintentionally moved in front of her, briefly obstructing her view, when he and the Queen were observing the Guard of Honor. Many people pointed out that this was a major violation of royal protocol when the incident was captured on camera and extensively covered by the media. Staying a little behind the Queen and modifying one's pace to meet hers is the proper method to walk with her. Guests should slow down if she does. They should also cease if she does. This prevents any unpleasant blunders and guarantees that the normal order of movement is maintained. While knowing how to walk with the Queen is crucial, being on time is another requirement that is equally important. Keeping the Queen waiting is not an option because of her notoriously rigorous schedule. We'll examine why arriving late to a royal event is one of the worst things anyone can do in the following section. 9. The Queen is punctual and does not wait. Royal protocol places a high value on punctuality. And one of the worst things someone can do is be late for an occasion where the Queen is in attendance. Royal protocol views tardiness as a show of disrespect, in contrast to many social contexts where a small delay might be ignored. There is a definite expectation that guests should never arrive after the Queen, but rather before her. It's easy to understand why this rule exists. The Queen has a well-organized schedule, frequently to the last minute. Since her entrance signifies the formal start of a function, everyone attending should already be present. This order is upset when people arrive late, and it can make the Queen and others in charge of the occasion uncomfortable. Everyone in royal circles, including politicians, celebrities, and dignitaries, agrees that there is no such thing as being fashionably late. The Queen is notoriously punctual, and it is very uncommon for her engagements to be delayed. A visitor who arrives late might even be turned away rather than risk interfering with the event. Royal personnel typically provide guests with detailed arrival information ahead of time so they are aware of the exact time and location. Personal emergencies, traffic, or delays are not acceptable justifications. The safest course of action is to arrive even a few minutes early if the Queen is due at a specific time. One of the most basic yet crucial laws of royal etiquette is to be punctual. However, presuming that they are free to take pictures at royal gatherings is another common mistake individuals make. In actuality, photography is tightly regulated and it is not possible to take a selfie with the Queen. 10. Instagram fans, I'm sorry, no selfies. Taking a brief selfie when meeting someone significant may seem normal in today's environment, where almost every moment is recorded on video. But in the case of the Queen, this is a grave violation of protocol. Attendees of royal events are expected to adhere to stringent photography regulations, and it is strictly forbidden to try to snap an unapproved photo, particularly a selfie. Respect is the primary justification for this guideline. Since the Queen's engagements are meticulously planned, taking unplanned or unposed pictures may be viewed as intrusive. Furthermore, official photographers frequently capture royal gatherings, guaranteeing a controlled and respectable record of the event. It is advised that guests wait for these official photos rather than taking their own if they would like a memento of their encounter with the Queen. In such cases, visitors can even be required to turn off or leave their phones at home. This is especially true in places where photography is legally prohibited, like Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace. Even in situations where cameras are permitted, the emphasis should be on respectfully documenting the event rather than shooting haphazard photos. The best course of action for anyone wishing to remember their encounter with the Queen is to use official channels. Dedicated photographers are present at many royal gatherings to record moments with guests. These photos are frequently made public afterwards. Even though taking a fast selfie would be quicker, this guarantees that the occasion is captured in a manner compliant with royal tradition. It's important to observe picture etiquette, but another common error is presuming that one can ask the Queen private questions. In actuality, there are stringent guidelines on what subjects are acceptable to discuss with her. 11. No private inquiries. It is expected that discussions with the Queen will be regulated, courteous, and respectful. Asking personal questions, particularly regarding the royal family, is a major etiquette violation, even though light-hearted chit-talk is totally permitted. Many people have erred by assuming that a friendly chat permits more casual subjects, only to discover after the fact that they had gone too far. Avoiding contentious topics like politics, interpersonal issues, or family conflicts is one of the most significant unspoken laws of royal encounters. As a constitutional monarch, the Queen maintains her political neutrality. Therefore, it is doubtful that she will respond to any attempt to debate current events. In a similar vein, asking intimate questions about royal family members is deemed improper. For instance, it is deemed inappropriate to discuss Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's lives, their choices, or any internal family issues. Even though the royal family is often in the spotlight, they avoid talking about private issues in formal contexts. When someone tries to bring up such subjects, they are frequently redirected in a courteous but strong manner. The best course of action is to have a polite and light discussion instead. General conversations about the event, the weather, or shared interests, like horses or corgis, which the Queen was known to love, are all appropriate subjects. The encounter stays within the parameters of royal etiquette by keeping the conversation short and cordial. Knowing how to handle oneself is just as vital as knowing what to say. Ignoring one of the most fundamental royal laws, never turning your back on the Queen, is another frequent error individuals make. We shall examine why this straightforward gesture has such great meaning in royal protocol in the following section. 12. Never ignore the Queen. Never turn your back on the Queen is one of the most important yet often ignored rules of royal etiquette. Even though it might appear like an archaic tradition, royal protocol nevertheless uses this as a crucial show of respect. Turning your back on the Queen is deemed inappropriate in formal circumstances, and many first-time visitors unknowingly commit this error. This norm has its roots in centuries of royal history, which viewed rulers as important individuals who should always be the focus of attention. The custom is still followed today as a show of respect. Guests are expected to face the Queen, particularly during formal engagements, but they are not obliged to look at her constantly. This regulation used to be significantly more stringent. In order to make sure they didn't turn their backs on the Queen, courtiers and royal employees used to have to walk backwards when they left her presence. Although this custom has mostly disappeared, it is still generally accepted that it is preferable to gracefully back off rather than turn away abruptly when ending a conversation with the Queen. This guideline might not appear important to people who are not familiar with royal etiquette, but disregarding it can result in unpleasant situations. Palace employees frequently discreetly direct guests to make sure they leave properly at royal functions. Turning away too soon after conversing with the Queen might be interpreted as hurried or contemptuous, even in informal situations. Although it is crucial to comprehend this rule, royal departures are subject to a broader custom. Another common error individuals do is to leave an event before the Queen, which is against one of the oldest customs in royal protocol. 13. First to go is the Queen. It is appropriate to leave an event whenever it is convenient in the majority of social contexts. The regulations are altered when the Queen is present, though, and no visitor is allowed to go before her. This tradition guarantees that the Queen will always be the center of attention, and that guests will wait for her to leave with the proper amount of respect. At state banquets, formal occasions, and even intimate royal parties, it is customary to wait for the Queen to depart first. Until the Queen indicates that the ceremony is about to conclude, guests are required to stay. This regulation is supposed to be followed even by members of the royal family, which has resulted in several well-recorded uncomfortable moments. Princess Diana, for example, is reported to have found this guideline especially difficult. Diana frequently found the lengthy royal nights, which occasionally lasted late into the night, difficult to handle, according to royal biographer Sir William Heseltine. According to royal custom, no one could sleep before the Queen. Thus, even the most worn-out people had to stay until she made the decision to retire. Occasionally, Diana would quietly excuse herself, which was seen as a departure from custom. The best course of action for visitors who are unclear about when to depart is to take the lead from other attendees. When the Queen starts to leave, it is a hint that everyone else should follow suit. Proper etiquette requires that prior authorization be acquired through royal aides in the event that circumstances necessitate an early departure. It makes sense that some people are concerned about making mistakes given the abundance of formal regulations in existence. But the simplest method to avoid most protocol violations is to just follow the Queen's example. 14. Taking the lead from the Queen. The best course of action for anyone feeling overpowered by the Queen's many etiquette regulations is to pay close attention to her and take her lead. In addition to upholding tradition and order, royal procedure is made simple enough for those who pay attention to obey. Following the Queen's lead is one of the easiest ways to avoid making a mistake. Guests should stand if she does. They might sit if she does. Guests are expected to eat at her pace, starting when she does and stopping when she is done. This guarantees that they don't inadvertently violate any unwritten rules and stay in line with the event's framework. Waiting for indications from royal personnel is another useful rule. There are usually assistants present in formal situations, discreetly guiding visitors through the proper protocol. Those who are unclear about how to act, where to stand, or when to bow can benefit from looking at others around them. Even the Queen herself has a reputation for making people feel comfortable. She is conscious that not everyone is familiar with royal practices, even if she adheres to tradition. Many visitors have made little errors throughout the years, and the Queen has frequently decided to ignore them with a grin or a joking remark rather than drawing attention to them. The most crucial thing is to be respectful, even when following etiquette standards sometimes feel overwhelming. A guest will automatically avoid the majority of significant blunders if they are aware of their behavior, pay attention to their surroundings, and obey the Queen's instructions. However, even if an error is committed, it is unlikely to result in any long-term offense. As we approach the last phase, it is important to keep in mind that the royal household does not demand perfection despite the numerous traditions and customs. Ultimately, the Queen recognizes that not everyone is familiar with royal protocol, and little errors are nearly always overlooked. 15. The last rule. Calm down. Everything will be well. It is understandable that people are anxious when they see the Queen because there are so many rules to follow. It can be extremely stressful to be afraid of saying the wrong thing, standing in the incorrect spot, or making a mistake. One of the most crucial things to keep in mind is that the Queen does not demand perfection, even with the formality. Numerous guests, ranging from world leaders to regular residents, have made small etiquette errors over the years. Some people have used inappropriate greetings, talked out of turn, and some have even forgotten the most fundamental guidelines. The Queen has dealt with these circumstances with elegance and patience in nearly every instance. Establishing uniformity in formal encounters is one of the reasons royal etiquette is still so rigid. These regulations serve as a guide for visitors and guarantee the smooth operation of royal engagements. They are not intended to scare guests or cause needless anxiety, though. The Queen is aware that the majority of people are not familiar with these traditions, therefore a minor infraction won't be a problem as long as they behave politely and with true respect. The best advice for anyone who is ever lucky enough to meet the Queen is straightforward. Maintain your composure, take cues from others around you, and concentrate on having fun. If you make a mistake, it's better to fix it right away and move on than to obsess over it. Meeting the Queen is ultimately a unique and uncommon experience. Even while etiquette guidelines are crucial, the importance of the event shouldn't be overshadowed by them. Guests will be remembered for all the appropriate reasons as long as they are considerate, aware, and ready to observe custom. The video for today has now come to an end. Make sure to see the other videos on the channel if you've followed us this far.